Healing boost. Oh, I like the sound of that. That. Ooh, I must have this track on repeat. Repeat. Oh, you hear that? You hear that? Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it. Break it. Break it. Break it down. Let's drop the beat. Beat. Let's get you healed up. Let's get you healed up. Healed up. Yeah. Healed. Healed up. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's pick it up. Lucio coming at you. Coming at you. Yeah, time to heal up. Oh, turn it up. Up. Turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up in my headphones. My headphones. Turn it up in my headphones. Audio medic. Audio medic. Audio medic. Move to the beat. Boost. Boost. Oh, this is my jam. Time to accelerate. Alright, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. F it up. Oh, I'm in the groove. Back in the mix. Check yourself. Oh, feel that healing beat. All right, heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Healing boost. Oh, I like the sound of that. That. Ooh, I must have this track on repeat. Repeat. Oh, you hear that? You hear that? Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it. Break it. Break it. Break it down. Let's drop the beat. Beat. Let's get you healed up. Let's get you healed up. Healed up. Yeah. Healed. Healed up. Yeah, let's move it, people.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another episode of Off the Wall. It's your boy Dazzle167, your host once again, whether you like it or not. And today we have a very special guest. We have top 500 PC and console streamer extraordinaire, Mr. Horrockskid. So say hello to the people, man.
Hey guys, how you doing? Just thank you for having me on here. I don't know what else to say right now, but yeah.
Nice. Well, listen.
You introduced me, and you said everything I was about to say, so yeah.
Nice. Well, listen. Let the people know. Flex some of your SR. Give a brief description of who you are, real quick, just so everybody knows.
So my name's Horrockskid. Obviously, about a year ago, a year and a bit ago now, I used to be a player on console. I used to, play in top 500 rank over there. I was Lucio main, and my peak was around about number 157 EU. Since then, nowadays, I'm a PC player, and nowadays I usually flick between top 500 and GM. I'm not top 500 all the time, but my peak is 498, and my peak is 57 EU. So yeah.
Nice. Hey, that's some flexing of the muscle right there. Nice. All right, cool. Well, listen, let's start the show the way we normally do. Where tell us about your gaming origin. Where did you start playing? What was some of the first games that you played, and eventually what led you to Overwatch?
Well, I have three stepbrothers that used to come around every, I think it was 2 weekends, and one of my brothers had a Xbox 360, so whenever he came over, we'd plug the Xbox 360 in, and believe it or not, I used to be a really big FIFA player, and I used to play a lot of FIFA, and we'd have little tournaments against each other all the time. Since, playing FIFA, I grew up to really enjoy Call of Duty. That was my first real first-person shooter game, and then pretty much I've been playing Call of Duty for a couple of years before the release of the Overwatch beta. And when the Overwatch beta came out, all of my friends introduced me to it. They actually had to tell me to get the game. To be honest, I wasn't a fan of it at first. Out of all my friend group, I was the one that hated Overwatch the most. I just didn't really enjoy the strategy behind the game, even though it's my favorite bit about the game nowadays. And pretty much since then, my friends kind of encouraged me to get the full game, and we started playing with each other since then. So yeah,
nice.
Just with my friends on console at the time.
Yeah, no, hey, I know a lot of people who've had similar stories. I know people who didn't want to play the game at all, and then their friends were like, "Well, we're playing, and you only play with us, so you might as well play this game." And they're like, "All right."
Well, it's kind of a thing of just not being left out, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I know people who have done that, and then their friends are diamonds, and they are top 500s.
Yeah.
And so it definitely has different storylines, but for sure. All right, so let's talk about, obviously, you are a Lucio main. I mean, if anybody has seen your streams, if anybody has seen your Twitter or anything, your logo is very prevalent in a lot of your stuff, and it's you're clearly a Lucio main. So was Lucio your first character?
No, actually, believe it or not, in the beta I used to play a lot of Bastion, because that was the easiest hero to play. A lot of Bastion back in the day. And
with the shield, you play with
not
the shield?
not with the shield, not with the shield.
Okay. Ooh.
It wasn't that early, but when I actually got the game, first when I got the full game, my brother used to play a lot of Tracer, and since I used to play a lot of Call of Duty, and when I used to play COD, I was the kind of run and gun type of person. I'd always run around with an SMG, have all the perks necessary to kind of just be as fast as possible, and I would just spray people with an SMG. So my brother encouraged me to start playing Tracer, and for my first placements throughout season 2 and 3, I was practically a Tracer one trick in gold, believe it or not. So
wow.
I did play a lot of Tracer. So but then since then, I started to play Zarya. I got really interested into Zarya, got hit diamond and masters with her, and then I started playing Reinhardt after that. So I've never really played DPS outside of Tracer, in gold console, but I did play quite a lot of tanks, depending on what we needed. At the time I was still playing with my friends, nothing too serious, but at the time I played a lot of tanks. So yeah.
And this is still in console, or when did the transition happen?
This is still on a console. Like, I started playing Lucio when, do you remember back in season 4 or 5, whichever one it was, when he got when he had the change where he would, get the speed boost after jumping off walls?
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes,
Yeah,
I remember because DSP Stanky famously made a video about how broken it was.
Yeah.
And I was so happy. I was like, oh my gosh, they made him so fast. Like, so yeah, no, obviously that was a great point. So yeah, so let's talk about your experience in console first, and then we'll talk a little bit about PC.
Sure.
You talked about how you climbed the ranks. You started off with Tracer, you moved on to Zarya, and then Reinhardt and stuff like that. When was the first time you hit top 500 for console?
I think it was season 6 or season 7. I think season 7 was my peak season, and then season 6 or 5 was when I initially hit top 500. That was when I really took, me enjoying Lucio, and that's when I really wanted to push it and get better at him.
Okay, cool. So, what made you go to PC after that? Obviously, you had a lot of success in console, and then what made you want to just try out PC?
It was mostly like, if I've got to be completely honest, I know it's different nowadays with all these console gaming leagues happening, and but at the time, like for me personally, I don't know if it's still like this, but there wasn't much to take seriously, like besides from just ladder. Like by then I was already high ranked on ladder. I did what I wanted to do. I never really thought that I was going to be able to break into the top 10 or top 1, so I kind of did what I wanted to do over there, and it was always the esports of the game that interested me. If I've got to be completely honest, I think it's the esports of the game that still drives me on to carry on playing it, even at this stage. And just kind of the view that I had of the game, the way that I saw it was that PC was where all the esports was, with the path to pro, with contenders, and eventually Overwatch League. Obviously, nowadays on console you can participate in third-party tournaments, but that's the way that I saw it at the time. So.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and I know exactly what you mean, because for a long time, for like the longest time, console didn't have any backing for anything. I mean, there was a few tournaments here and there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until recently where console players couldn't really play for money. It wasn't until recently where that actually started happening. So I completely understand. There's tons of people from console who moved on to PC just because they wanted to get a little more serious about the game and definitely do that. So that's awesome. Well, speaking of PC, I noticed that from looking at your Twitter and stuff like that and just doing a little bit of research, I noticed that you started off with, or not started off, but you played for a team called Crimson Dawn, and you went through Open Division. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, so the most recent team I've played for is Crimson Dawn. I've played for 4 in the past, but the most recent is Crimson Dawn, and that's been the most successful that I've been in, yeah.
Nice. And so tell us a little bit about that. Like, how was that experience? How was moving from just, ranked to going into an open division, something a little more solid?
Well, Crimson Dawn wasn't my first open division team. I competed in 4 teams before then, but only 2 of them were open division teams, if that makes any sense. So I was experiencing playing in open division 4, but I kind of used the teams to better myself, if that makes any sense. So the first team I competed in was, I think it was 3.5k average, and then the second one was 3.8k, and then the most recent one, Crimson Dawn, they were 4.4k average. So I was slowly getting better, and as I, progressed on PC, I was getting into better teams. But Crimson Dawn, it was definitely the most successful. We had a record of 9-2. And if it wasn't for opponent match win percentage, we would have been through to the Open Division playoffs. So yeah.
No. Obviously, that, I mean, I think in anyone's book, especially people who play Overwatch, I think that they'll mark that as a success. I mean, not a lot of people get to do that, or even say that they got that close. So that's definitely a lot of props to you for that, because that's actually a pretty good accomplishment. And so the difference, I feel what you're kind of saying. Like, you started out with teams that were a little lower, and slowly you got higher and stuff like that. What was the difference the biggest differences that you saw playing with something a little more serious in scrims and matches and stuff like that as compared to like rank and stuff like that? Like what is the biggest difference for you?
Um, well, comparing the lower tier teams and the higher tier teams, it's definitely consistency and the like the management behind it. If that makes any sense. If you're in
Yeah.
a lower tier team, the chances are there's going to be it's going to be slightly less organized and um, you know the well, it's gonna. Most of them are slightly less organized, and it just seems like it's more serious at the higher tier. There's gonna be less scrims that are, cancelled and etc. It's just,
Yeah.
and you're more likely to have a manager and a team of coaches, which are equally as important as the players in my eyes. And you just don't get a lot of them in a low tier Overwatch that are willing to kind of give you the same amount of attention, if that makes any sense. Because
Oh yeah,
there
absolutely.
there are some low tier coaches that do exist and they do a job that's just as good, but most of the time they aren't willing to give you that much attention, if that makes any sense.
No, yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And speaking of that, I think on your Twitter you have a like a twit longer talking about your decision to kind of stop competing in Overwatch esports. Stating that like time constraints were an issue and stuff like that. Do you plan to come back to it? Because you did say earlier that it's something that still keeps you going on. So is it something that you're still interested? Is it still a goal for you to get into it?
Definitely, like in the future, if I somehow have if I get you know, I can't think of the word here. If I can somehow get the opportunity to, there you go, that's the word that I
Okay.
was thinking of. Then I definitely would. But it's just right now, I'm currently in year 11, which obviously for those of you that are in NA, that means that I'm in the last year of high school, so that means that I've got a lot of exams ahead of me, and I need a lot of time free to practice for those. Um,
Gotcha.
and also, speaking of like opportunities and things that I might wish to do in the future, when I turn 16, basically there's different there's a league in the UK called the Belong Arenas League, and there's these shops around the UK that are called Game. It's kind of like the equivalent of GameStop that you have over there.
Okay.
Um, so I think there's 16 games in the UK that have like kind of LAN PCs up at the top, and they would have teams in. They would have their own like shop teams. So they would have teams in Overwatch, League of Legends, just other popular esports titles, and basically when I turn 16, I'm going to have the opportunity to try out for the games shop that represents Manchester, which is a city that I live in. So
Oh.
hopefully I'd be able to have the opportunity to represent Manchester against other cities like London and Plymouth and stuff like that.
Oh, that's actually really cool. That's a really cool
Yeah,
concept. I don't think I've heard anything like that in the States or anything, and I think that's really awesome. That's very cool.
yeah. It's
Nice.
nothing like the level of play isn't as high as contenders trials and contenders etc.
Sure,
It's not as
sure.
high. There's some people that some professionals plus relatively low SR that compete in there. Um, like there's everyone in there isn't exactly Masters plus, but
Yeah.
it's more of a grassroots tournament. For
Hmm.
people to have an opportunity of what it's like to feel like you're being in a LAN, and that's kind of what gets me interested into it. Just there's different rewards that can come from it, and I think the top two teams out of the whole league they get to compete at a gaming event. Have you heard of Insomnia? Have you heard of the gaming event?
Yes.
No. Yeah, oh yeah. Okay. There you go. Well, basically the top two teams they'd be able to compete in a like on the live stage in front of on the main stage in Insomnia,
Okay.
and then there's also other opportunities that come along the way. So you might get your own jersey and etc.
Hmm.
Um,
Nice.
the Manchester Swarm team, which is a team that I might be trialing for, they had the opportunity to scrim against London Spitfire last year when
Ooh.
when the London Spitfire went around their UK tour. The London Spitfire went to that game store and had a scrim against the Manchester Swarm. So that was fun to
Ooh.
that was fun to kind of see.
I
I wasn't
mean,
obviously playing,
I wouldn't.
but
To be honest, I wouldn't mind getting rolled by like
yeah,
gesture or
They got
Or
absolutely rolled,
Prophet.
but it was cool to have the opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, exactly. Because here's the thing too. Like even as a player, like obviously you're gonna die a lot, but if you get that
Yeah.
one kill on somebody like Prophet or Gesture or anybody like that,
You could
oh
say that you
man,
got, yeah.
you could
That
say
one of
like
the,
I killed him once.
yeah. Well, one of the head coaches for, well, the head coach for London Spitfire, I forgot his name. He took aside one of the Manchester Swan players and actually complimented him on how well he was playing the
Oh,
game. So
hey,
that
it's
was
a good
really
way to
cool.
get noticed, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, there's a couple of attention from top OD contenders trials teams that look into it, in case if you do make it into the Insomnia finals and such, because they do like people that can, they have the obviously if I'm willing to get myself to a LAN that's every week,
Yeah.
then obviously it shows being able to prioritize and stuff like that. It shows dedication. So yeah.
Oh yeah, obviously for sure. Well, let's talk about this because I think your decision is something that has been seen a lot. For example, a lot of pro Overwatch players, people who play in the OWL, people like Siegel, Mendo Kusai, XQC, although his was more forcibly
Yeah.
done, there's others too. I forgot the
Funny
one
Astro.
player. Yeah.
Funny
There's tons of players who are have dedicated themselves to going from pro to just streaming. Do you think there is a level of stress involved in being at that high of a level and scrimming and just constantly doing it, that people were just like, you know what, I just want to take it easy and just start streaming? Is that something that you went through as yourself, or is that something that you think like is just inherent in the game?
It's definitely something that I can relate to, but then again, I haven't experienced what it's like to scrim at a contenders or Overwatch League level. So
Mm-hmm.
all I can imagine is it's going to be like what I feel, but 10 times worse,
Sure.
basically. But I think obviously, just wanted to take it easy for a while is a factor. But I've been streaming before, like even when I was on console before I moved to PC. So even when
Mm.
I was playing in, Crimson Dawn and etc., um, I was, still streaming on the side. So it wasn't exactly a hard decision to make. I'm always going to be streaming on the side no matter what I'm doing. So yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, listen. Speaking of your stream, I mean, you've had quite. I would always mark this as a success, but you've had quite a bit of success. Like you have people in your chat who are, it's an organically grown type of stream where it's not like Twitch bots or anything like that. People are
Yeah.
actually watching you. They're actually chatting. And you even got a host from Chipsa, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
I saw the clip. I saw how excited you was, and it must have been exciting like that. How did that come about, and what made you like start to stream to begin with?
Well, I used to like when I was on console, I used to stream sometimes just to kind of take the mic when I was playing with my friends, and I
Mm-hmm.
used to stream it on YouTube. And quite a lot of my viewers will know her. She's a streamer called Chinsey Inc. When I was on her open lobby one day, she just she just said try streaming on Twitch one time and see what happens. And I think I had a very successful first stream. I got something like 9 followers in one stream, which is very good for a
Ooh.
starting streamer at least.
Oh, absolutely.
And I like I decided to take it from there and see what I can do with it. I've always been, everyone in my chat knows that I've always been very thankful to, Chinsey for kind of getting me to kind of stream on Twitch in the first place, because if it wasn't for her telling me, then I probably wouldn't have done it, at all. So, yeah.
Nice. I'm interested in knowing how the Chipsa thing went through. Like, how did you get a notice? I guess. I mean, I'm sure you guys are in the same server, obviously. Did you like find him in a game? How did that come about?
Yeah, it was the most beneficial. Like it was the best experience that someone has ever got from leaving a comp game in their lives, right? Because this is what happened, right?
Okay.
Me and Chipser, we randomly got queued into the same game, all right, on a Dorado game, and it just so happened that 3 people on the other team were Overwatch League pros, okay, free stacking,
Oh.
and Chipser and I were kind of like, we just can't be arsed with this, and I was already on a 3. I think I was already on a 3 loss streak, so I was tilted, and it was the end of a season, so I kind of
Oh,
accepted that I wasn't going to get top 500. It wasn't because Chips was on my team or anything like that. It's just because I was feeling like pissed off at the game. I just wanted to
sure.
leave. So I just left. I didn't care about the minus 50 because I just wanted to, just take a break and vent. And
Mm.
then suddenly, like a lot of people from Chips' stream start coming over to my, stream. Chips himself came over. They were all calling me legends and stuff. And yeah, calling me a legend and stuff, and it was pretty funny for it to all happen in the first place because it all just came from me leaving the game. And pretty much when I left the game, Chipsa started, just saying shit like, this guy's my hero, Horrocks for president, stuff like that. And and basically, someone in his chat said, as a joke, hosted him. He didn't know that I streamed; he just said it for a joke. And then
Yeah.
that's when some people in the chat just kind of thought, out of curiosity, wait, is he actually streaming right now? And I was. So at the end of the stream, I got hosted with something like 490 viewers, which was the most I've ever
Nice.
had in the stream. It was crazy. I loved it.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, dude. That's a cool story. That's definitely something that is something to be proud of for sure.
Yeah. I
If
mean, I won't be proud from leaving a comp game, but I'm proud of the host. But
yeah.
yeah.
Obviously the host and stuff like that. But I mean, I like to be honest. I don't think there's any shame in dodging, especially some Overwatch League pros.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
especially if you know that you're not gonna have an impact because you're tilted or something, or because you know
yeah.
that you're just like you can't be bothered with it. I can totally see that.
Yeah, I just left because I was pissed off with the game and I wanted to go off for the night. But when all those people came over from his stream and he's saying that he's going to host me, I thought that I might as well just stay live for another half an hour,
Oh
and see what
yeah.
happened. And he actually did. So yeah,
That's
that was just
awesome.
crazy. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, listen, we have a clip of you on your stream. So let's take a look at this. This is some of my. I looked through some of your clips, and this is probably one of my favorites. So let's check this out.
Here they go.
I am fucking dead.
It's huge.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Chill.
What the hell?
Please stop.
Yeah.
There you
go.
Huge brain
Huge.
plays. Yeah, huge brain plays, dude. That was massive. I love those types of boops. Those huge like plays like that. Those are great. Tell us a little bit about the clip because you said there was a story to it.
Yeah, so for the first Open Division team that I competed at, it was called Sunset Esports. I didn't mean to be in, my first team being called Sunset and my last team being called Dawn, but that's how it ended up happening.
That's
how
actually funny. That's actually funny.
I didn't mean for that to happen, but my first team was called Sunset Esports. They had an A team and a B team. I was playing in the A team, and our captain was somebody called Intense. And after we left, after Sunset Esports disbanded, we joined. Like most of the roster moved over onto a team called Emirates Esports, and that was more serious. It was higher SR. We were we had sponsors and stuff, so it was a decent, team. And when that team disbanded, when Intense was still the captain, so we had quite a lot of, I had quite a connection to that guy already because we've been, playing with each other for quite a while. I decided to go a different route, and just randomly one day he asked me to ring for his team that he was building. So that was like that was the first time I played with him for quite a while, and it was his first time trialing some people for his new team. So that was kind of a funny opportunity to just be able to flex on people.
Nice.
Yeah, that was fun.
Well, that's really cool. Let's move on to a different topic. Let's talk about probably both of our favorite heroes. Hero, real quick. Let's talk about Lucio. I kind of want to know the style that you play. Yeah, hell yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
Thank you for the follow,
yeah.
by the way. Speaking of Lucio, right? Tell us about your style of play of Lucio. Everybody has their own way of playing it. There's people who are really aggressive, people who are very conservative, people who are, there's like quote unquote team Lucios and Reddit Lucios and whatever. Let us know a little bit about your play. What do you think your play style's like?
People definitely know me for being a Reddit Lucio, 100%. I have an aggressive play style, but I do play fluidly. Like I am able to, be a team Lucio if I wanted to, but I feel like it's my mechanical advantage that I have, like being able to kind of just go off kill a sniper and then come back. You know, just
Mm.
little things like that I'm able to do. I think that's what gives me a little bit of an advantage. But I'm definitely known for being an aggressive Lucio, 100%.
Awesome, and that's probably, I want to say, like the most popular type of style because it's flashy. There's a lot of like movement involved. There's a lot of huge plays involved in it, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So that's awesome. Well, let's talk about Lucio real quick, about the character himself, because this I think is going to be a longer discussion, especially because obviously we received some of the PTR patch
Wrap
notes.
it
Oh, yeah,
up.
there we go, another follow. There we go.
Hey, there we go. There we go. We're doing it again now.
Hey, speaking of, let's just keep talking about Lucio.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of his stuff, because I've had discussions with people where some of the people were saying, oh well, it's a nerf, it's a nerf to goats.
Yeah.
His buff is a buff to Reddit Lucios. I've heard different things from different people. What's your take on it?
The same thing here. There are loads of different things from different people, but this is just what there's some people that I've put in that also play Lucio at 4K and all that, and some people think it's, they have a completely different opinion to mine. But what I personally think is that right now, considering what the meta is right now with goats, even though it might not be after the next patch, but
Sure.
because if the meta still stays goats somehow, it's definitely going to be a nerf to Lucio, in my opinion, because his speed boost is what makes the comp work, and that's why he's so viable. But I I don't think it's going to be too hard of a nerf. I feel like it's going to be fun. At the high level, it's going to be like relearn the hero in a way. You need to relearn the way that is meant to be played, because understanding that he's going to move it slightly faster, but your team isn't going to be better, like given the speed boost as much as they would usually do. It's definitely going to change the way that you play, especially saying that you're going to be able to wall ride faster while you're on heal song, which is what a lot of people forget about when they read the patch notes. Like being able to wall ride faster without being on speed, you're going to be able to wall ride really fast on heal song. So this is going to be able to kind of change up the way that stalling on Lucio may work. You might want to be able to get in as much heals as possible while being able to, wall ride away really quick. So
Yeah, I feel
yeah.
like there's definitely going to, like, parts of his kit are going to just be elevated as far as skill level, because you are going to have to be really adept at wall riding if you weren't already. I mean, Lucio's kit is just, it gives himself the ability to just be, if you wall ride really well, you're using the kit at an extremely high level. So
Yeah.
I feel like that is going to be a huge part of it. I feel like in this new patch with that coming through, he's gonna be kind of like an ambulance, where he's gonna have to go from people to people with healing, and he's gonna be fast enough to go. And it might switch up things like that. He might not be a part of goats anymore, but who knows? Maybe we see a resurgence in dive, and he'll be great for that because he can move from place to place, and
Yeah.
it's definitely a lot of those things. I mean, but let's talk about his speed real quick, because I think this is really interesting. A lot of the things that people don't really understand is that his speed definitely got nerfed. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it definitely got nerfed. But people have to remember that he's really one of the only characters with an ability cooldown that has speed, right? So I mean, because
Yeah.
like we think about what maybe Rally gives you speed.
Yeah, kind of, but yeah.
But yeah,
No,
but it's not really like,
technically.
yeah, it's not
Yeah.
technically. I mean, it's not really that big of a deal. But I mean, I can't. Ana Nano used to give you speed, like those types of things. But Lucio's really the only speed in the game. So I mean, it's still going to be prevalent. I mean, it's still there. The speed is still going to be there. How do you think speed is going to be used now with the nerf, or like how do you think he's going to be able to use that effectively?
I feel like it's gonna be used more for initiation. Obviously it's used for initiation anyway, but I feel like that's gonna be the one of the only ways to use it now, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
With his, like, what I like to do personally is swap between heal and speed quite a lot. Like when I jump off a wall, I like to be on speed, and then when I'm in the air, I'm on heal. When I'm back on the wall, I'm on speed. So it's like I get a little bit of heals while I'm through the air without really, noticing too much of a movement decreased. But in terms of like how much the speed aura is going to be used, I think it's going to be used just for initiation. I don't think you can use it to kind of just to flick it on and off too much anymore, because it's not going to be too
Yeah.
effective.
Well,
It doesn't just start like that where you bang, you're fast. You need to like build it up a little bit with your wall ride. You know what I mean?
yeah, and I feel like like the Lucio's build up a rhythm with their heal and speed song where they'll mix back and forth on them based on the rhythm that they play and how they jump on and off of walls. So like, do you think that with this wall riding buff, it's more like you basically just have to be on heels on walls? Like there's no purpose to being on speed. Like what do you think?
I think that in team fights, people are definitely going to be on heels a lot more.
Yeah.
Unless you're running a brawl comp, like goats, where speed boost is extremely important, and you know you're going to have enough heals to team up, then being on heels in team fights is going to be what helps Lucio's a lot, because you're still going to have the ability, like what you said before, the ability to be in multiple places at the same time. That's always moving fast and being able to be in multiple places at the same time. That's always been an indicator of how well you can play Lucio. If you can peel for your Ana, and then the next second you're distracting a sniper and then killing him, and then the second back you're coming back and speeding your Ryan. It's the ability to do multiple things at the same time. It does indicate how good you are at Lucio. But unless you're quickly on speed to get in between these locations, you are going to be on heels, I think, most of the time. But this is just what I'm saying from what it's like on PTR. I could be wrong. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And obviously PTR isn't it isn't the
Yeah.
best place to kind of like gauge how team comp is going to be, because when you go in there's going to be like 1,000 Baptistes, like there's going to be like it's basically arcade mode, really. There's no real way to like gauge how team comps are going to be. Like nobody really takes it seriously. So like, but again, I think the difference is that I think people act as if Lucio speed is going to be gone, and that's not necessarily the case, right? Do you think that Lucio is still going to have a place in GOATs at all?
I think it depends on how effective Baptiste is going to be. That's all I can like. I feel like if Baptiste does serve as a replacement to Lucio rather than a replacement to Brig, which is what he thinks. Like most people think that Baptiste is going to be a replacement for Brig, but if he does so happen to be a replacement for Lucio, then I don't think he'd have too much of a place in GOATs, but he would still have a place in the meta, 100%. It's the type of he's like you said before, he's the only character with speed, so he's always going to have some sort of place in some sort of comp.
Absolutely. Do you think it's going to be like the meta that we're going to be able to see coming up soon? And obviously all of this is just speculation, but it's based on, but I mean, we've played the game often enough to have seen different type of metas and how it goes and stuff like that. So do you think that, like, obviously GOATs has been prevalent, and we went, and even before that we went through a Mercy meta where it was just Mercy, right? So do you think that now it's going to be more diverse in comp wise? Do you think that that's going to be the case?
I feel like that's what everyone says when a new patch comes out. I feel like that's what everyone says. There is going to be a new meta, whether it's still GOATs or whether it's a different GOATs variation that works. There is, there's not going to be a meta where it's, totally diverse. That just can't happen, in my opinion. There is always going to be a meta. But in terms of, having comps that counter each other's comps, if that makes any sense, then like more so than what already happens, then yeah, I think so.
But here's the thing, and this is probably more of like I guess like a philosophical discussion, really. But like, so you mentioned this. You said that there's never gonna be a meta where there's like quote unquote no meta, where like everything is diverse enough where okay, this map we're gonna play dive, and this map we're gonna play goats, and this other is gonna be quad DPS or something. So like you say there's never gonna be a meta like this, but the developers and even Jeff Kaplan himself at times have said that that's their goal. Their goal is to make it diverse enough to be able to explore all the avenues in one meta, where it's not just all the time healer. If you're a healer, you have to play Lucio, or you have to play Ana, or you have to play one type of, they want it to be like all the heroes are accepted and everybody gets a chance to play. Do you think that's a pipe dream for Overwatch?
I think that's what the developers wanted to do. Obviously, that's their job. Of course, they want that to happen. But I like what you said with maps, there's always even just with maps, there's going to be ideal comps for run. If you're running, if you're on a map, for example, Route 66, where you're on, where you can take advantage of certain high grounds, compared to a map like, I don't know, like Ilios, for example, where most people would be fighting on, equal grounds. It's it's there's always going to be a certain meta for each map, because for some maps you might be thinking there's more sightline for snipers, for example, or there's going to be a lot of chokes for spams like Junkrat or Pharah. So for maps there's definitely never going to be a meta where you can literally just run anything. But in terms of meta, no, in my opinion obviously, but in terms of meta in general, like rather of just running anything you'd like, instead of it depending on maps, I don't think it's going to be very possible. If that makes any sense, I could have avoided that better, but
No, but I
you
think
get
it
what I
makes
mean.
yeah, I definitely get what you mean, and I think it makes a lot of sense because I feel like the developers, even though they have this idea, like they have an idealistic way of thinking of comp and stuff like that, but I think the execution of some of the things that they do is, like they want to quote unquote balance things out. Like for example, this balance is supposed to make goats little less overpowered so that
Yeah,
other comps can be played. But I feel like when they do things like that, they don't necessarily shift the meta in one way, a little bit. They kind of like shift it completely in a different direction, right? So like it'll depend on how, I guess, a lot of people play and stuff like that, and we'll have to see kind of like the pros and what they do and stuff like that once the patch comes through. But it's definitely something to see. We'll see how it ends up. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I'm afraid if Lucio is gonna be like Mercy meta where people are gonna flame me for playing Lucio.
yeah. I mean, like, oh god, I forgot what I was gonna say now. But in terms of metas and stuff, there's I forgot what I was gonna say. God damn it. Um,
Keep thinking about it.
yeah, you just carry on. I'll come up with it eventually. Just carry on.
Yeah. So okay. So listen. Here's the thing too, and I think this is something that a lot of people will talk about. I mean, for me, like I'm definitely a one trick Lucio. And I don't know necessarily. You obviously like to play Lucio. Lucio's probably your best hero and stuff like that. You have mentioned that you can play other heroes, before as well. But do you think that playing one tricking Lucio specifically will be the type of thing where it's viable? I mean, obviously other people think it's viable, especially in ladder, because I don't think ladder has but do you think, like, for somebody like Q who eventually wants to become more into the esports aspect, do you think that being a part of like a team Lucio and being somebody who can do that really well, do you think that one tricking Lucio is viable at that point? Do you think, or do you think you have to be more flexible just in case the meta shifts, especially for somebody who goes into esports?
I think that no matter what the meta is, if you're thinking about esports and just in general, being a one trick, well, not necessarily in general, because like you said on ladder it works, but I think if you really want to take it to the next level with esports and stuff, one tricking, it's harder to do because there's gonna be so many different comps. Like obviously on ladder, everyone knows that goats comp is just gonna destroy you. Like everyone knows that on ladder. But when you're in scrims and when you're in tournaments and stuff like that, there is certain there are certain ways that you could counter goats comp, and it brings up even more comps, and they might not necessarily involve a Lucio. Like I've had to flex to Mercy quite a lot of times for my previous team Crimson Dawn when it was mostly a Lucio meta for certain comps that we would like to pull out of the bag sometimes. If we were running double sniper and we really needed that damage boost, I would go Mercy. Or there was a strat that we'd like to run on Route 66, the Chinese strat. We would run 4 DPS, Mercy, Orisa, and it worked on defense on Route 66. But I think in terms of like you were saying, this is probably the meta that we've been experiencing recently is probably the best meta for Lucio we've had for a while. And if you can't one trick him now in esports, then I don't think you'll ever be able to. Yeah, I've got experience from needing to flex, and one trick in the next level, it's when you need to worry about all these different comps that you could necessarily be running or have against you. It's really hard to do. It's really, you need to be able to flex onto other people on your role, at least. As a main support, I would need to play Mercy from time to time, or Moira.
Absolutely. And, I don't even think it's something that we haven't even seen, because I think that OWL Season 1 proved that there were many Lucio mains who were really great at Lucio, terrible at Mercy, who just entered a Mercy meta and they couldn't perform as Mercy at a high level. People like Toby from Soul Dynasty.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an amazing Lucio, who just couldn't get the job done as Mercy. Or people like Dahak from San Francisco Shock, an amazing Lucio as well, and he just couldn't do very well on Mercy. So you see a lot of that. But again, you see people who are able to adapt, like Neptuno, who is an amazing Lucio player, but also
I was just about to mention him.
yeah, he's a fierce Mercy. I mean, he's probably the best battle Mercy in OWL. So I mean, you have people who have a lot of success being able to flex onto their specific role, whether it's off support or main support. So yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably something that we should see. Do you think it's something that for you, you think you have to practice more, specifically, like when you try to get on teams and stuff like that, do you think to yourself, okay, I've been playing a lot of Lucio on ladder, but I should probably focus more on Mercy, or I should probably do some other support, what do you think?
I never think that I need to exactly get a hero as good as my Lucio, but I always want to have them in my, back pocket ready, because I was gonna use Neptuno as an example anyway. I'm happy you brought him up. He's very, like you said, he's very good at Lucio, and at the same time he's very good at Mercy. But you need to, people notice the different comps that he runs Mercy in, and the different comps that he runs Lucio in, even in this meta. It's not him choosing to play it because he wants to. It's that being the most viable pick for that comp, if that makes any sense. So, if he ran Lucio, it wouldn't have the same effect. So that's the way that I'm kind of thinking about your question from earlier. Is one trick viable? Not exactly, but he's a good example. But in terms of what you've just mentioned, whenever I get picked up for teams and people see my career profile, which is something like 90% Lucio or something ridiculous, they do always make sure that I am able to, play someone else if I want to, or if I can't, if they need it, not if I want to, if they need it.
Sure.
And like you said earlier with Baptiste, I've been running some. Obviously, I could play Mercy if I needed to pretty well. I know all the secret tricks behind her and stuff, how to prioritize who to heal and stuff. Crimson Dawn has helped me a lot with learning Mercy, for when I needed to play Mercy, like I said before, in those quad DPS Orisa Mercy comps. But just in terms of, whenever I get asked to join teams, they do, always make sure that I can play Lucio, or other people besides from Lucio even.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I think that's a great way to see it. Let me pick your brain about Baptiste real quick, because I think a lot of the people who watch this and maybe watch it later and or we'll see it later and stuff like that, they're really interested about who don't have access to the PTR. They're really interested about Baptiste and how supports view him, because we've all seen, I think some of us have seen some of the big streamers try him out and stuff like that. But what do you think about Baptiste? What's your quick just thoughts about him and how he fits into different comps?
I think he's definitely, like you said before, the possibility of him being able to go into some GOATS comps is a thing, but I think the comps that he's going to be the most at home at is definitely bunker comps with Orisa or Bastion, or just other more immobile heroes, and he can help those out. Just the ability to, because if you thought about it, bunker comps aren't used too often nowadays in the current meta, and that's because if you're running an Orisa shield, the chances are the enemy are just going to pick goats and just run through you with brawl comps. But it's like your
Mhm.
shield doesn't even exist. But if you think about it with Baptiste and his immortality shield and his quick heal, you are able to kind of let your team take a breather while you're getting literally stomped by a goats comp, if that makes any sense. Like
Yeah.
their Ryan is literally swinging into your Orisa and into your Bastion, etc. But if you give them that immortality shield, you're going to give them that quick couple of seconds just to kind of, whether it's to make the decision to focus one target, or if it's the decision to to decide what ults to use or something like that. It grants them that defense against just being overrun that they need. And I feel like when Baptiste comes out, there's definitely going to be more immobile comps like Bunker or like Pirate Ship that he's going to be really viable in. But like I said before, he could be in certain Goats comps as well. He's a really diverse hero, in my opinion.
Now, have you had a chance to try out Baptiste with Lucio? Because I feel like not being that mobile like bunker comps you were mentioning, could benefit even if even if there's a nerf to Lucio's speed, they still benefit from having that speed. And obviously, Baptiste's like AOE type grenade launcher. Alongside Lucio's AoE healing, could probably have a very huge healing effect. Have you tried that combination? What do you think of it?
I think it's a pretty good combination, like to begin with. Whether a third support should be added or whether the Baptiste or Lucio should be swapped out for something else, I'm not too sure because I haven't had enough time on it. But I like you said before, with Baptiste's grenade launcher and Lucio's AoE healing, it is going to help the team a lot. In uh, but I feel like if you're going to have a Baptiste and a Lucio on the same team, most likely you'll need a third healer, and then that's just going to lead into a Goats comp or some sort of Goats variation. I think one hero that's very good against Baptiste and also with Baptiste is Sombra, and some sort of triple, triple support, two tanks, and Sombra. Triple support, two tanks, and some sort of, you know, I forgot what the word is. A hero that's going to be used in certain situations that isn't exactly a DPS. So, like Sombra, for example.
Okay, okay. Yeah, like
I
like a
think those com-
flex kind of
yeah,
position. Okay, so a hero that's a little more niche. Although I feel like Sombra, these nerfs for a lot of these heroes are going to be really big for Sombra, right? I think Sombra is going to be a big part of the meta, and
yeah.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of like maybe triple heals, two tanks, and a Sombra a lot.
That already happens. Sombra is already a big part of the meta,
Yeah,
and that already happens. Also, I just remembered
absolutely.
it. Sombra utility support. That's the word I was looking for. So
Utility
two
support,
tanks,
perfect. Yeah.
utility hero, not support. Three supports, two tanks, and a utility hero. That's what I meant to say.
Gotcha,
Those
gotcha.
comps still happen a lot though, and swapping
Yeah.
out one of the supports for Baptiste could make it even stronger. That's what I meant.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, obviously, yeah, like you said, we have been seeing a lot of Sombra lately as well. I mean, her buffs that happened a while ago gave her the ability to kind of be more sustainable and just be able to do a lot of work. And with her being so much more prevalent, do you think that also happens to be part of the reason why people think that Lucio isn't going to be as viable? Because she's, I think that she is at the very least a soft counter to Lucio, which I mean, some people would say even a hard counter because she
Yeah.
kind of destroys the ultimate. Once you get hacked, you literally can't you just shoot basically and shoot,
Yeah,
hope for the
and
best. So what do you think? Do you think that's gonna be part of it? Because Sombra, I feel like, is gonna be bigger, and because of that, people are gonna say, "Oh, Lucio's gonna be lower."
in a direct, one-on-one comparison, like you just did, Sombra is definitely a hard counter to Lucio in my opinion, but it depends on how your team can play around the Sombra, if that makes any sense. It's how just to make sure that you just don't get picked off, and the ability to kind of outplay their EMP, that definitely helps.
Yeah.
But obviously, if there's more Sombra, there's the chances are your speed boost isn't going to be as helpful, or your beat drop isn't going to be as helpful. But compare Lucio to any other support, like Zen, for example, or Ana.
Mm-hmm.
What opportunities do they give you when they're hacked? I mean, when Zenyatta's EMP, he
Yeah.
has what, 50 health? Like,
Yeah,
EMP is just good against supports in general. Never mind Lucio.
true.
So
True. Yeah, definitely for sure. Well, listen, I think that's it. We've come to the end of the show. That's pretty much everything that I wanted to discuss. I think we had a pretty healthy discussion about, especially meta and PTR and new heroes and stuff like that. Listen, I appreciate you coming on the show. It was great having you. I think that you gave a lot of really good insight into a lot of different things. I know people who are watching who are console players who are looking to get into PC will definitely like to hear some of the stuff. And your stream is really great. Let the people know where can they find you, what's some of your Twitter, your Twitch. Give us all that information.
So on Twitter, I'm at Horrockskid, like below my face cam. That's how to spell it, because we've had some trouble with people spelling it recently, haven't we, Dazzle?
That's true.
and then on Twitch, I am also Horrockskid. I stream every day apart from Tuesdays on twitch.tv/Horrockskid. It's 7 p.m. UK time. I have no idea what time that is Eastern. Something like that would be something like. Let me just figure this out. 11 a.m. Eastern, I think it is.
Yeah, which, you know what? It's funny because like in my day job, I do a lot of coding and stuff like that, and I have like this extra monitor that I usually put stuff on. So it's perfect. I love watching EU guys because you guys stream earlier in the morning when I'm at work, and I'm able to put you on in a different monitor while I'm working. And it was like, oh, that was a good play, and I'll just keep for it. So it's definitely I love watching EU guys in the morning because it's great. So I definitely catch your streams a lot for sure. And yeah, guys, check him out. Awesome Lucio plays, for very entertaining, very funny. Go check him out. And remember, this is Off the Wall Podcast. This is a community podcast. If you have something to say, if you want to be on the show, let me know. Hit me up on twitter.com/dazzle167. If you want to say something, just let me know what you want to say and if you want to be on the show. And I'll definitely keep you in mind and we'll have you on. Again, thank you so much for being on the show. As always, we usually rate somebody from the community. So today it looks like, let me see, we're going to try to rate somebody if I think we got, Joystick OW. We're going to try to rate him. We usually do this at the end of the show. So guys, thank you for passing by. If you get on Joystick stream, tell them to say hello. Dazzle167, Horrockskid sent you from Off the Wall. And guys, we'll see you later. Say bye.
Yeah, have a great day, guys. See you guys.
All right,
Peace.
bye.
All right, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. F it up. Oh, I'm in the groove. Back in the mix. Check yourself. Oh, feel that healing beat. All right, heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Healing boost. Oh, I like the sound of that. That. Ooh, I must have this track on repeat.